All right, so we're going to go over packing. First thing we want to do to pack is grab our go bag. We like to ride down to the trailhead in our street clothes and then change at the trailhead. So we want to get everything we need, liquid for the ride down. This is separate from your climbing water bottles. You want to have those filled and don't touch those till you start climbing. So we've got extra liquids in there. And we're going to stick everything we need for day one into our go bag so that we're nice and organized for when we proceed through the packing process. So, we're going to have our hat, our hiking socks in that bag. We're going to go ahead and set our trail shoes aside if it makes sense to have trail shoes depending on conditions. We're going to have things, if we want to start in a separate pair of underwear, we're going to stick those in that bag. Soft shell pants. And we're going to calibrate what we stick in this bag based on conditions. We'll tell you that at your gear check, what you need to have ready for day one. So for a normal summer day, long sleeve hooded base layer top, and then our soft shell pants. Typically glacier glasses, almost never goggles for day one. And yeah, the idea here is we're getting everything out of the way that we don't need to pack into our backpack. Chapstick and sunscreen, you're going to want those right at the trailhead, so stick those in your go bag so you're nice and organized and you know what's happening. We've got our mask as well. That's important in these times. And we've got things like our wallet, our keys, anything like that we're going to want. We want to go ahead and stick in the separate bag. That way we don't accidentally stick those in our main climbing backpack. So once we've got all that stuff sorted out, we are done with our first step of packing. Next step, we're going to organize the stuff that we might need on day one so we can keep it in the top of our pack while we pack. So all of our lunch and snacks for day one. We're going to want water as well for day one. Those things are going to go in our upper third of our pack. We're going to want hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and one waste bag. So those things are important to have out and have accessible on day one as well. Next things we could want, we're probably going to want our soft shell jacket accessible. Definitely going to want our liner gloves accessible as well. Those are going to be important. Our buff, that's a great thing to have. And obviously our mountain boots, so we're going to need those at some point on day one. Next things, depending on the weather, but I would say on most trips, we like to keep our hardshell pants and our hardshell jacket nearby. Best way to make sure it rains is to not be able to access your hardshells. So use Murphy's Law to our advantage here. We pull those things out. We're ready to go. So now we're on to our third step here. We've gotten our go bag ready. We've got all of our day one stuff shoved aside into another area so we're not confused packing. And now what we're going to do is take our empty backpack, make sure we've undone all of those compression straps on that backpack. Make sure it's wide open, as extended as it can get. We're going to then take our trash compactor bag, our cheap and efficient waterproof liner. We're going to shove that into the bag. If you have a sleeping bag compartment separating the main body of your backpack, go ahead and drop that out. Usually there's a drop out. We've got one tube to pack into. And what we're going to do is just start shoving all of our gear into it. So it's not complicated. I'm going to start with big down jackets, things like that. Sleeping bag. These are all things that we don't need until we get to camp. You'll notice the sleeping bag is in its compression sack. This is one of the few items that a compression sack is worthwhile for. We're going to stick that near the bottom. Again, we're keeping with this principle of accessibility. Our inflatable pad, we don't need it accessible, so let's put it in the bottom of the pack. Same thing's going to be for our pee bottle. We don't need that till we get to camp, so that can go deep into the backpack. And you'll notice things are just going straight into that backpack. All of our toiletries, we don't need those. We don't need our toothbrush until we hit camp. Extra socks, same thing. Not going to do us any good until we're at camp. Stick those down nice and deep. Things like our hat, depending on the weather, our warm hats, we might shove those down inside. We might keep those closer to the top. Extra waist bags, we're not going to need those because we will have pulled one aside during our day one packing. We've got all of our food as well. Lunch food for day 2, day 3. We don't need that on day 1. That stuff can be pretty heavy. It's nice to sit that nice and deep into the pack where it's balanced. Harness and carabiners, don't need it on day 1. Can go in there. Big mittens, again, we're not going to need those except in exceptional weather on day 1. Those can go pretty deep into our backpack. And you can see the bottom of that backpack's really filling out. Every bit of space is getting taken up. So as you pack, you want to kind of keep yourself organized. So you see long underwear bottoms just went in there. Desserts and dinners, those we don't need till we're at camp and have a chance to explode our bags. And then we're left with just a few things. So we've got our cup, and inside our cup, you know, that's a great spot, an extra space. You can do things like put your headlamp in there. That's going to be really, really helpful to save you on space. That can just get shoved on in there. You're getting the idea that it's pretty messy inside that bag, but if we don't need any of those things till we get to camp, it's all good. Spoon, bowl, even our mid layer, yeah, if the weather's nice enough, that can go deep into our backpack as well. So that pack's starting to fill up, but there's still plenty of space. You can see the exterior of that pack is nice and smooth. So really we're left with a pretty small quantity of items still. We've got, at this point, our helmet, goggles, and our softshell gloves. Softshell gloves should be in the upper third of your pack. No matter the weather, it's possible you could need those. All right, now we're gonna head over to our day one pile. So we're gonna start putting things in our pack that we might need during day one. So they've gotta be up top in our pack. And so what we're gonna look at here is something I like to call the squid trick. So we've got three things: hardshell pants, hardshell jacket, and softshell jacket. What I like to do, you're gonna pinch the leg of those pants with your armpit, and then shove the rest of those pants right down into that bag. Compactor bags are nice and slippery. It's easy to shove that down and take up space. You can do the same thing with your jacket. Pinch that arm, and then you're going to shove the body of that jacket down deep into that bag, leaving just the arm hanging out. And same thing with your softshell jacket. Pinch that sleeve and then stick the rest of the jacket down into the bag. And what we're left with are three little squid arms. So we can see three of our garments down in that bag. It'd be really easy to pull any of those out, but we're filling our bag really nicely, really efficiently. One of our water bottles, I like to put that inside. You're not going to need that till you've downed your first water bottle. It's kind of heavy. It helps with the balance of your backpack to stick it down inside. Now that we're left with almost nothing, what I like to do is pack my helmet inside my bag. It's kind of a more advanced technique. You need to be careful. Helmets do break when they're squished side to side. So when I stick my goggles inside my helmet and stick that into the top of the bag, I know I've got to be careful when I'm out there in the mountains. If I'm going to sit on my backpack at a break, I need to sit on the base of the backpack, not the top of the backpack, or I might crack my helmet. And that's everything for the body of our backpack. So it's packed up. You can see this is about a 50-liter pack. Plenty of space for a 3-day trip in the summer in the Cascades. All right, so now other things I might need: toilet paper, hand sanitizer, and a waste bag, either a blue bag or a waste kit. Done. And then we're looking at the upper zipper of the backpack. What I'm going to do is stick 1 liter of water up there so it's easy to access. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick all of my snacks for day one in there as well. Certainly are other things you might put in here. Some people keep their chapstick or lip screen in there. You can stick your buff, maybe your liner gloves in there for travel. You might wear those from the trailhead anyway. And then we're almost done packing. So at this point, since we've got everything in the bag that we need to put in the bag, we can actually start with that third principle. So we've made our gear accessible, what we need to access. We've made our pack balanced by distributing heavy objects throughout the pack. And now we're going to make our backpack compact and compressed. So we're going to hook the lid of that pack up to the body using whatever straps we've got to work with. There's all sorts of different designs, so you need to learn how yours works to hook it up. You're going to want to make sure you've got all 4 corners of that lid cinched down, and you can kind of play with the balance of that lid. Some people like it more towards their head. Some people like it hanging a little further out. Regardless, you want to make sure it's not going to flap around. That can be annoying. You also want to make sure it's not going to hit your head too much as you're going uphill, sort of looking up. If that lid is too close to your head, that can be a bit of a nuisance. All right, so we've got a nice compact backpack. And to finish it up, what we're going to do is actually cinch up the side straps, but you don't need to do that till later. The last thing we're going to do here is attach all of our sharps to our backpack. So you can see I've got a little bungee cord strung across the front of my backpack. It's just tied off. And that's a great spot to put my crampons. So they're not inside my bag, they're not poking into my pee bottle or whatnot. The other place I could have put those is between the lid and the body of my pack. That's another safe place. Ice axe, every backpack's different. So you need to see what makes sense for attaching your ice axe. Usually there's going to be an attachment for the head of that ice axe. You'll notice the pick is facing inside, not outside, so it doesn't catch on things. So you're going to go ahead and typically lash down the head of the ice axe. And then you're going to move to the top, to the shaft of the ice axe. And there's usually going to be a little bungee cord or some kind of attachment. If you're having trouble figuring this out, you could either look up your backpack model online or chat with somebody at your gear check about how to do this. All right, that's our backpack. It's all packed up. The last thing we're going to do, if conditions permit, we can sometimes attach our boots to the outside of our backpack, and we'll head out in those trail shoes that we pulled out for our go bag. This really depends on conditions, so make sure you ask questions. We'll tell you what makes sense for the time of year and the specific trailhead you're headed to. If you do need to cinch your boots to the outside of your backpack, generally there's going to be some kind of a side strap or side buckle, and you can basically just arrange that buckle over top of the boot. I like to do that with the sole of the boot facing my back when I'm wearing the pack. And then I like to cinch it down and make sure it's forward enough on the backpack that it's not going to be hitting my tricep while I'm trying to walk. You want to put one boot on each side of your backpack. Again, that B principle for balance. We want to make sure our pack is even left to right, kind of top to bottom, rather than having two of your boots strapped to one side, etc. You'll also notice that the only things on the outside of my backpack are boots strapped down tightly, an ice axe, and crampons. So this is the D principle, no danglies. We don't have cups clanging around. We don't have our harness clipped to the outside of our pack. We want to have the outside of our pack as trim as possible.